This week on the Foxcatcher Intel preview, I have a look at the card at Morphettville Parks. We've got Jules at Moonee Valley, the usual suspects, play of the day, the snap and don't snap. The pin the tail this week, we go to the Group 1. It's Fangirl in Sydney. What happened last week? It's a can to the good.
Hello and welcome to the Jules and JJ show. My name's Julian Valence, joined in studio by James Jordan. Back after 1 week. You missed me that much?
Special treat for you.
Yeah,
be in studio. But it was good to stay home last week. I will be doing more of that. But I had not a bad week. I think I got you in a couple of segments. So,
yeah, you did.
Would have been nice to
found a few winners too. So maybe at home might be more
relaxed at home. Yeah.
Punters are very superstitious, so that could be the thing.
I am.
You're more relaxed at home.
Yeah, I just
been there once, and I'm not too sure about that.
Work there.
Yeah, those guns I think might have something to do with it. Okay, let's get into the track intel. All right, track analysis this week, JJ, on the parks again, so you can lead us off. What are we doing there?
Yeah, it was 3 metres sort of last time we raced. It was sort of largely a little advantage to be up sort of on speed. It was hard to loop, which we predicted, and that was right. Until the last race, it was quite wet. The last winner actually came very wide. Now, the rail goes out to 6 metres for the business end of the race.
Yep.
When the rail gets out to 9 metres, nearly always the outside fence comes into play. 6 metres, it's not 9, it's not 3, it's somewhere in the middle. I'm going to say
here nor there.
I'm going to say I reckon still swooping sort of lanes 5 and 6 around the bend is going to hurt you. But there's a chance late in the day, if you are going to be wide, you come extra wide, you come down the outside rail in the home straight, that might come into play. But we'll be a little bit cautious and say still that typical pattern of being sort of inside gates, coming around the corner, close to the turn, close to the bend, the rail rather, is going to be the play.
But you wouldn't be surprised come late in the day, a jockey's brave.
Yep, correct.
I'll be looking in the form guide for a certain jockey
correct.
to see what happens there if they're drawn wide.
Probably a soft 5 as well. No, if I was a jock, I'd be walking the track, the outside. If I was drawn wide, I'd be walking the track with an eye to if the outside fence is good and the middle's no good, I'd be coming out wide.
Yep. All right, very good. That's the track analysis for Parks, and there's a bit in that, I think, especially that outside possibly in play later in the day, possibly. Moonee Valley this week. Now, we raced there 2 weeks ago, JJ. We were in the True. They had about 10, 11 days of no rain whatsoever. It was the first time they'd raced for a long period of time, and times indicated it was bang on a soft 6. So now we've had a bit of rain, and we're going to get a bit of rain. Rail goes out 5 metres. I think we're going to be on genuine soft. Here, and possibly if we do get the rain Friday night that comes up to 10 mils, are we going to err into that heavy range just from what we saw on the first time we raced 2 weeks ago? So soft range, I think. Big northerly, 25 to 35 kilometre northerly, which is a headwind in the straight, just doesn't really impact Moonee Valley like it does Caulfield and other tracks. So I'm not too worried about the wind and what impact it's going to have. It will be a headwind in the straight. I think on speed an advantage. Now that's the starting point for Moonee Valley when we get out to this out 5 metres out to this range. Key significant factor is 2 weeks ago, when we last raced at Moonee Valley, inside was off. Now I know we go out 5 metres, so maybe they didn't really touch that parts of the ground, but just got to be careful there. On speed, yes, out 5 metres, but got to stay agile, I think, throughout this whole day and just keep an eye on first 2 races because I think it's going to be really interesting to see how Moonee Valley plays. And that'll lead into our Fox factors. So that's the track analysis and the track intel for Moonee Valley Parks. No, Morphettville Parks.
Morphettville Parks, come on, mate.
And Moonee Valley. All right, time for Fox factors. We love Fox factors. Good feedback from the punters about Fox factors. JJ, this week, and this is sort of purely probably from my perspective of how I think Moonee Valley is going to play or what's going to happen. There's just a little bit of uncertainty about what happened 2 weeks ago and if we do get this rain, how this track's going to develop. Got to be agile on race day. You've got to be able to swallow your pride and say, I've liked these horses on Wednesday and Thursday, and then it's completely flipped to how I thought the track was going to play on Saturday. So you've got to take factors into how the bias is, the weather. Does that rain hit? What horses are now going to be affected in a good way or a bad way? Change of tactics, which is a really interesting rule that you could probably talk about for 3 days, to be honest, but sometimes that is important. And obviously the parade as well, which you talk about a lot in terms of the bigger players do have people there looking at horses. They either parade well or not, and then you see that in the last 5 minutes. But I think from the Fox Factors point of view, Saturday, sometimes it's okay to say, hey, got this one wrong Wednesday, Thursday. I'm now going to change my plan.
Well, the weather can change a lot. The forecasters don't always get it right. They very rarely get it right.
Yeah,
but
they're like us punters.
the other thing is having the discipline. When you get to a certain track that you know can throw up a bias or can play, a certain way most of the time, but there's a chance it can change, or if maybe the last meeting there was different to how it normally is. The discipline to not play early.
Yeah.
And I like to play early because that's when the market's the most inefficient, I suppose. But having certain tracks, like in South Australia, there's certain tracks I really don't bet at anymore.
Yeah.
I'm just so sick of them.
Yeah.
And then, there's a certain pattern. You think, well, this horse will get to the front and get a soft lead. I want to back it because of this. And there's a really, strong leaders pattern. And all of a sudden, by race 5, they're just going 100 miles an hour in front. That's things that are 4 back the pegs that win. And it's like having the discipline to just say, I'm not going to bet early. I'm going to wait and see. And you might have to watch a horse go from 6 into 4 that you want to back, and you might miss it. But to know that it's still the result that's going to get you the best long-term results.
Yeah, that's really good advice because that's exactly what Moonee Valley is to me in Victoria. So usually exactly like you, do my form, then Wednesday night, Thursday, I'll play into those races where I think I've got an advantage versus the market. Haven't done that this week, so that's full disclosure. I'm waiting till race day till I see what happens. But even though a couple of my bets are in the first couple of races, I'm going to take them, suck it and see, but then we'll see what happens throughout the day because I think there's going to be some interesting stuff that happens at Moonee Valley. That is Fox Factors for this week. All right, here's the Group 1 set. It's the first Group 1 of the racing year. We've got to go up to Sydney. So both out of our wheelhouses a little bit, JJ, but I tell you what, there's some fair horse flesh going around in this kind of race. We see the return of Fangirl. We see the return of Via Sistina. We see the return of Riff Rocket. And the race doesn't end there.
Everything's first up, pretty much.
Yeah, they are.
56 days, I think. But everything's first up, so fascinating.
We're going to get to Pin the Tail soon. That's a little bit later because we obviously want to see the most talking horse in Australasia. That's what Pin the Tail is about, and it'll be Fangirl. But overall as a race, when you looked at it, what do you think you want to be looking for?
It's fascinating. It's the mindset. When you got to guess everything first up, you're trying to work out. We talked about it last week on the Fox Factors, those target races and which ones are going to be ready and which ones aren't. There's obviously Chris Waller's got a really strong hand. Like, is he going to have everything wound up on the dart?
All different owners too as well, though.
I know, but
he
just would. If 3 weeks ago he thought Fangirl's flying, it's going to be winning that race. If it was me, I'd go this thing. Via Sistina maybe second up, third up. Let's just leave a bit in the tank. So there's all those kind of different approaches, I guess, human elements to it. Which ones are there full bore? And then there's the speed in the race.
That's the key factor for this race is this speed.
Yeah, and like your Tropical Squall, Gay Waterhouse, trialled, like it's jumped to the front master, go it generally leads. So it's a really interesting. And then you look at Fangirl's sort of wins first up, the last couple, particularly last prep when it just sat. And you think, that's what I'd do. I'd ride it the same way. Jump out, mind your business, peel it out, let it run home in 32.2 and sort of reel them in. So it's a fascinating race. People say, is it Group 1 early in the season? They're just getting fit. It's a proper Group 1 field.
Yeah, absolutely is. As you mentioned, I think the map's the most important. Tropical Squall, I think, comes across from 11 and ends up leading the race.
Yep.
And then I think the other one that's got the ability to be able to sit handy, doesn't always do it, but you go through horses like Via Sistina and Fangirl. They just don't. I looked through all their runs. They've just never been able to really settle in the first 3 or 4. Maybe Fangirl did it once at Newcastle in a vinery at 1,800 metres. But other than that, always third up, fourth up. She might settle a little closer, never first up. So you think the other horse that might do it is Zugotcha, who might be able to come across and then sit outside Tropical Squall. And then if we've got a drying track in Sydney, is this what beats Fangirl? That they just get some real easy splits in front and she can't reel them in. She can't run sub 32 last 600 because it's actually just physically impossible.
I thought
that's
first up,
possible.
I didn't think they went that quick in the win first up last.
Yeah, they didn't.
And she was. It was just so hard to look at
margin,
that and go, how that like. It can happen. We know slow tempos can beat horses that get back. Back markers can beat themselves. But it's going to be a fascinating race. And there's a lot of these horses you're looking at for these 2-3 runs time in the features as well. So
would you bet in the race?
No, I haven't. I mean, I'd look at it and obviously priced it for this. I thought a tissue was one that was
interesting.
I thought over the odds. Yeah, it's going to start 30s or 40s probably, but I reckon it'll run a good race.
Yep.
I thought Via Sistina was very short.
Yeah.
I thought it, I mean, I can't see
They just go back, don't they?
I reckon. And I can't see it sprinting quicker than...
Well, if she does, then she doesn't get beaten probably for the rest of the prep if that's what they're going to do because she must be a superstar because she's going to have to probably be on the back of horses like Fangirl and then to get past Fangirl, that's a pretty big effort.
Yeah, I thought it was one that was a bit too short for them. I've got it marked longer in the market. I want to see Riff Rock. I don't think it can win the race, but I want to see it. It'll probably be on the back of Fangirl.
Yeah,
I want
that's
to see what
right.
it can whip home in.
Yeah.
Getting to those sort of races up in trip, but it's going to be a fascinating race.
Yeah. Tricky race. I thought Tropical Squall and Zougotcha might have been the value early doors because I just think they might be able to control the tempo, but Fangirl's obviously going to be the major talking horse to see if she can get over the top. That's the Group 1 set for this week. All right, JJ, we're now going to the SA set. Very good last week. Can you keep the momentum rolling? I think you've got 3 horses for us.
I've got 3. I've often liked to bet in the early races, as you know.
Yep.
First one comes up in race number 2. It's for the 3-year-olds, the new season 3-year-olds. Horse is called Wolfgang.
Where's it going?
It's going to.
Where's it going?
I think it'll run in Adelaide.
Okay.
I mean, it's run in Adelaide and the Valley. It's accepted as well. Adelaide's a much more winnable race.
Yep.
For the Valley, it's about $14 or $15 in a strong one. It's been to Adelaide before, first up, last prep, and won impressively. So I'm hoping it goes there. It's been gelded. It's had a couple of jump outs for this. They've ridden it a bit colder in its jump outs, and it's been really impressive. It won in good time the other day by a space. So I think they'll probably not push to go to the front with it on Saturday, wherever it runs. I think it'll be ridden just behind them. But gee, I liked its trials. I liked its win when it went to Adelaide last prep. I think it can lob one out, one back, or something like that. If Stoli Bolly runs in Adelaide, I thought it might run at Moonee Valley. If it does run in Adelaide, it can stalk it. If not, it'll lob 3rd, 4th, and I think run over the top of them. So race number 2, I think Wolfgang's a really good bet. In race 5, another Victorian called Musgrave. Kieran Maher's got this horse. It's 3rd up to this 22.50. It's had the 2,000 metre run under its belt, 2nd up. Sat at the back. It was never really in the race. Worked through the line really strongly. It's sort of sectionals late with some of the best on the day.
Okay.
I know the race didn't rate that well last start. It was a pretty pox-staying race, but this is not a strong race either. I just thought 3rd up, Maher sending it to Adelaide. It'll be very hard to beat. It's $5. I think it's each way odds. Happy to play each way on Musgrave in race 5. The last one comes up in race number 9. It's Santhron. Now, talking about track patterns and trying to bet according to how you think the track might play, getting to like a race 9, the pattern's very established. So to pick a leader or to pick a swooper, you could.
You've gone in between, have you?
Yeah, I've gone for a horse that I think will get its chance regardless of how the track's playing. Horse lobs sort of one out, one back. Can peel out or can stay in if it needs to. Xanthron is the name of the horse. Its last sort of 4 ratings have all been really level and good enough to win this race. It's got the claim. It drops 4 kilos from last start. Draws that right gate for flexibility on the day, regardless of how the track's playing. I think there's good speed in the race, and I think this horse is better with a sit. So I think Xanthron each way, again, it's about that $5 quote, is an each way play in race number 9. So there's 3 of them, 2 Wolfgang, 5 Musgrave, and race 9 Xanthron, a couple of them each way. Hopefully Wolfgang early can set us up.
Beautiful. It was on fire last week. Hopefully you can keep it going. That was JJ's SA set. All right, go get a cup of tea and take some time because now it's my VIC set. Heading to Moonee Valley. I've got a few here, JJ.
I've seen the rundown.
We're spreading wide. As I said, haven't played yet, which I usually do. I'm just holding off because I think it's going to be interesting to see how Moonee Valley plays. But first race, I'm going with Wycliffe each way here. Strong Rider goes on. Didn't have much luck last start, but I love that rating behind Point King. I think that was a good rating race. Dashing Duchess is a really short price favourite. It deserves to be favourite. Just can't get it that short. And I'm not so sure. It gets Jamie Carr, so I think it's going to hold its price. But I don't know if it's got the consistency to be that kind of price. And I think Wycliffe, look, 2,500 metres. Don't know if it's right up its alley, but it's in the right camp. As I said, Declan Bates going on, strong rider. I want to be each way Wycliffe. Race 2, really solid here with Daggers. Now, it won first up on debut.
It was a
at
price
Sandown.
too, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Short.
No, it was. And it just demolished it. Went to the front, although it wasn't really hard out to the front. They sort of just were allowed to go there. But outstanding time overall, outstanding late 400, 200. Now drops back to 1,200 metres here, which you could say is a slight negative. But I just think gate 1 around Moonee Valley, how it usually plays out 5 metres, is where I want to be with Daggers. I think it's a great bet. I'm just trusting that my rating here with Sandown. I know it's a really hot race. It's got some good horses. Polyglot comes from a really hot maiden from Bendigo, which many people have spoke about. We spoke about it on Pandora's Fox last week, how many winners have come out of it. But I'm with Daggers to be able to lead all the way. Then we go to race 6. Going with 2 horses here, JJ. Tressetti, and the bottom one, if it gets in, it's an emergency at the moment called Name Dropper. Now, they came out of the same race last start at Sandown. It was just a midweek race, got beaten by Lethal Thoughts. But I've got that race going really high, and I just like Egan goes on to Tressetti, takes over from an apprentice jockey. I think it's ready to just about win. And Name Dropper, I like it at those prices around $8. I want to play both those. I think I'm against the favourite. I know Blake Shin goes onto it step aside, but I'm just a bit vulnerable, worried about that rating last start. And there's another horse, Regal Zeus, who again will go to the front, goes around Moonee Valley really well, but haven't got that rating going very well that last race. Then we get to race 7, horse off 105 days. You had this, I think it's last ever run. See What I See. She's a mare. She won 6 in a row last prep. Key factor here, I was like 1,500 metres, probably bigger fish to fry. Don't know where she ends up, but only 105 days off. I think she's
going to be fit.
She's going to be fit, and I think she needs to get the rating up. We spoke about this a couple of weeks ago in terms of Fox factors. Target races or races that horses need to win to continue to win to get into better races. This horse wants to get into better races. She needs to win these types of events. The other factor is it's a handicap. She's on 53 kilos. She gets them in. And the other key factor is she gets Jamie Carr as well, who I think will really suit this horse. I want to be with See What I See first up. And then the last race, happy to play each way around $12. Horse called Prowling. We put it in Pandora's Foxes in the den a couple of weeks ago. Just came up the Flemington Straight behind Moutai, just in the wrong part. It was along the inside. First, second, third were all up on the outside fence. I thought it was a pretty good run first up. Was in the bin 6 out to 9. I hope there's some market support here, but second up, Prowling. Egan goes on again, senior jockey, had one ride for 1 second. I'm with Prowling each way in the last. There's a few there, but that is the set for Moonee Valley this week. All right, JJ, favourite segment for me, it's the snap or don't snap. We're running at 19 from 24 this year of getting the correct way it is moving. So that's 5 that we've missed. We're going around 80%. You've missed 4, so that's fine. There's
not
no
that
issue.
you're
Not that I'm counting.
No.
Got to get something right.
I get.
But you can kick us off because you got 3, and they're sort of in early races where I play a little bit later. So snap or don't snap for you, kick us off.
It's interesting here because deductions with these dual acceptors in race number 2, Moonee Valley and Morphettville Parks. If the wrong ones scratch, there's one horse, Zesty Man, for example, that's $5 and I'm nowhere near. If you cop a deduction of $5, it's going to stuff up my market a bit. So hopefully we get a bit of luck.
Disclaimer, by the way, that sounds like to me.
Well, what can you do? But race 2, Wolfgang, is a horse I think is over the odds. It's about 370 now.
Yep.
I reckon. I think it'll shorten up. If the favourite comes out, Stolly Bolly, I think it's about 240 at the moment. I don't think that'll hurt us. If Zesty Man comes out as well or instead of, I'm probably less likely to nail it. But I think it's good odds at the moment, Wolfgang. So I think it'll shorten up. A couple I think are under the odds, Zesty Man in that race that I talked about. Sort of 480 at the moment. It's poison for mine.
Yep.
It was a little bit wide at the Valley last start, but as you said, the inside was off at the Valley. A lot of the horses out wide, even in that race, ran into the placings. It ran 4th, sort of held up a little bit, but I'm not convinced. Gets the winkers on, but I think it's under the odds. It's sort of that 480 quote, so I'll risk Zesty Man. I think wait for it if you want to back it. The other one is Reservoir Dog in race 3. Had everything go its right. You know when you get, if you know, 5 back the pegs, they go way too quick. They roll off. You get a rails run, and you still don't rate. It went below average. It had every favour in the world. At 310, I'm happy to risk it in race number 3. It's a don't snap for me. All
right, so there's the 3 snap or don't snaps from JJ. I've got 2 at Moonee Valley. They're both don't snap. So as I say, I think you're going to get a better price than what's currently available. Race 5, a horse called Quantum Cat. Now they put up sort of $4.40 early doors. It's already out the gate to sort of $5.50, $6, but I think that's going to continue to trend out. So if you like it, I'd be waiting to the death. Quantum Cat, it's off 77 days. There's just some other horses that are fit, hard horses over a bit of a distance. I think it's going to drift. And in the last race, I think it's going to be a really popular horse for some punters because it's a horse that rated really big on debut, then won again, and then went to a group race last start and failed. It's called Rococo. Race 9, Moonee Valley, around 350, 360 currently available with PointsBet. I think I'd be waiting for it off 133 days and 1,200 metres. Now, 1,000 metres, 1,100 metres, I'm okay with first up, but just 1,200 metres, sometimes that concerns me. I think it's going to drift. As I said, that horse, they both can win, but I think you're going to get a better price come jump time for those horses. So they're the 5 horses for snap or don't snap. All right, pin the tail, JJ. We won't worry about last week because it's irrelevant. But no, the ledger now sits at 3-2 my way because we spoke about Pericles in depth. You went with $2.90 as the starting price. I went with $3.20. It's heavily supported into $2.65. So you got that one right convincingly.
Wasn't it? It was literally the last couple of minutes.
Yeah, it was.
At about maybe 90 seconds out, I thought, oh, it's going to be bang on $2.90. It might be $3.
Yeah.
Just went whack the last sort of minute.
Some players were obviously keen on it. It couldn't get the job done, but that's, correct. So anyway, it's 3-2, and now obviously we've got into the Group 1 racing. We're going to really attack these Group 1 races and try and find probably the most talking horse. And this week we've settled on Fangirl. There's a bit in this, and you can either go really quickly or you can go really slowly with Fangirl. I'll sort of kick us off with the fact that first up record's outstanding. Dry track record's beyond great. I think anything worse than a soft 6-7, she becomes really vulnerable. But it's just about the speed map and what you think here. And I think Tropical Squall and Zougotcha just might be able to control it, but she's still got the ability to get over them. That 1,400 metres, she won this race actually last year as well. She started $5 in that race. She just won. She beat a horse called Princess Grace and Zaki. That race was just, I think, the beginning of Fangirl reaching her mark. And then obviously in the autumn, over 1,400 metres, it wasn't a Group 1 race, might have been the Apollo. She absolutely annihilated her rivals, and she started 2:10 in that.
Yep.
That one's closer to the mark in terms of the SP that Fangirl is going to start in this race, I think. I've settled on $2.25 Fangirl. Okay.
I'm a bit shorter. I've got it at $2.05. I reckon I've got it about $2.15 in the 100% market, so I reckon it'll jump about $2.05. I just think the first up record, looking at that with everything's first up, the first up records are going to be more important than being a blend. I think the market's going to be more closely aligned to which horse is ready to go first up, and I think Chris Waller, knowing what it's done the last couple of preps, particularly last prep, he'll have it pretty wound up. You're right about the map. If they're potting Fangirl, it'll be because of the map.
Yeah.
But I think it'll be pretty solid. I reckon the corporates, a lot of them will have multis tied up through her as well. So they're going to be less likely to push her out, which might... Normally it's Betfair or the exchange that pushes the market out and controls it. I reckon sometimes if the bookies are just saying, no, we've got enough of a liability on this thing, they don't... And then it might not follow as closely to the exchange, even if it's off.
That's a very, very good point. Do not be surprised come Friday morning that Fangirl's like $1.80, $1.85, because one of the corps in particular has probably done some work on Fangirl and doesn't want to be laying it black figures. Would not be surprised for that to see it happen. That's obviously going to make it tough for me to get to that $2.25.
Let's hope so.
$2.25 for me, $2.05 for JJ, Fangirl. It's going to be a fascinating race because I think they're going to spit out a few and they're going to come for a couple as well. So that'll be exciting. That's Pin the Tail this week. All right, JJ, let's get to our plays of the day. You can kick off. They're both actually in race 2. Yours is obviously at the Parks. Mine's at Moonee Valley, but you can kick us off.
Wolfgang in race 2, Morphettville Parks for me. It is a dual acceptor at Moonee Valley. I'm hoping they go to Adelaide. It looks like the best option for mine. They did go there first up last prep. So I just think the race sets up perfectly for it. There might be a scratching, maybe 2 come out of it between now and race time, but I just think it can lob probably 3rd, 4th, something like that. Its trials have been its jump out's been really good in the lead up to this. It's its first go as a gelding. I really like what I've seen and think it's going to be very, very hard to beat. Okay,
Wolfgang for JJ in race 2 in Adelaide for me. Race 2 as well, a horse called Daggers. I'm just trusting the rating I've given this horse last start at Sandown. Yes, this is a really hot race. I love the fact that it's drawn 1, rail out 5 metres. I think he can control the tempo. If Polyglot sits outside it, I'm hoping Polyglot obviously is a little bit conservative, but Polyglot and Blake Shin are really aggressive and end up crossing us, then I think we're in a world of hurt. An absolute world of hurt might make it really difficult for Daggers to get off its back. But I'm hoping Luke Curry can just be aggressive and maybe have to burn that little bit extra to hold it out. And then I think its last 400, 200 could kick in over the 1,200 metre journey for me. So that's Daggers. That's the plays of the day. We've got to the end. We were going to do what's it called? Something as a fox.
Yeah.
Where you sort of thought you'd found the Yeti in Adelaide, but we thought it's probably not ideal, even though this is 18 plus content. The fact that a rabbit had its heart just more or less dismembered by some type of animal that now is lurking in the Adelaide Hills, possibly a black panther, but you've told me on very good authority that's only in the South America area.
Yeah, correct.
Even though the circus, I've found out 50 years ago, lost 2 panthers around that area.
Really?
So you would, yeah, that's right.
They got, maybe there's a relative.
Well, that's what I'm
relative.
thinking. I'm thinking there could be. So
No, I've got some more footage. I reckon it's a
Okay.
tailless fox, but it's a massive fox anyway. I think I've got to the bottom of it, but the main thing is I'm leaving tomorrow for a week anyway. Hopefully, by the time I get back from Bali, it's pissed off somewhere else.
Well, I hope that someone's looking after the dogs because there might be a bit extra there for the
Correct.
fox or that Black Panther or whatever it might be. Thanks for watching. Talk soon.
Well, that's the show this week. Thanks for watching. If you want to see more of the Foxcatcher Intel preview, like and subscribe on all our social channels.
Imagine what you could be buying instead.
For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.